Against Severians, number 25, part 45 of the series. After these their followers, Severus, who was either their contemporary or born about their name. I cannot speak of his time for certain, but they were quite close to each other. At all events, I shall give what information I have. 1. Severus, the founder of the so-called Severians, arose, following next after Apelles. His very stories are the ones I am now about to relate. He too attributes the creation around us to principalities and authorities and holds that in some unaimable and very high heaven and world there is a good God, but he claims that the devil is the son of the chief archons, and the chief archon in the authorities retinue, how he sometimes terms Yaldabaoth and sometimes Sabaoth, this son whom he has begotten is a serpent, but he was cast to earth by the power on high, and after descending in the form of a serpent, he became a rose and lay with the earth as with a woman, and since he ejaculated the seed of its generation, the vine was sucked by him. And when he is telling stories for proof of the nonsense, he wants the snake-like roundness of the vine to be a representation of it, and says that the fine twisty shape itself is like a snake, and the grapes of the vine also are like drops of flax of poison, because the rounded form of each grape is either gobbler or first pepper and then fat. And for the reason it is wine that confuses people's minds and sometimes makes the amorous and sometimes causes them to frenzy, or again renders them angry, since the body becomes dim-witted from the power of the wine and the poison of this dragon. Persons of this persuasion accordingly abstain from wine altogether. They also claim, as the occultists have, the woman is the work of Satan. Hence they say that those who have conjugal intercourse are doing Satan's work, and moreover, half of man is God's, but half is the devil's. He says that from the navel up man is the work of the power of God, but from the navel down he is the work of the evil authority. And this, he says, is why anything involving pleasure, frenzy, and lust happens below the navel. But other sects too have made this claim, and so Severus too is exposed in every way, as the follower of the other times who have prepared these poisons for the world, for he will be refuted easily. The rebuttal of his case will require no very great effort, for the body as a whole is pervaded by the things which God has rightly blessed in it. I mean desires, which God has placed there, not for anything irregular, but for good use and for orderliness of essential need. I am speaking the desire for sleep, food, drink, clothing, and all the others which arise in us at our own pleasure and God's. Thus, I can prove too that even sexual desire itself is nothing wrong. It has been given for simply procreation, as seeds having been given to the earth from an abundant yield of the good produce God has created. I mean pasturage and food trees. Thus, sexual desire was given to the human race to fulfill their commandment, increase and multiply and fill the earth. Severians use certain apocrypha as I have heard, but also the canonical books in part, hunting out only those texts which they can reinterpret by combining them to suit themselves. For that the vine, was neither engendered by the devil nor sight by a snake is plain to everyone. How could this be, when the Lord himself gives his testimony and says, I shall not drink the fruit of the vine until I drink it new with you in the kingdom of heaven? And since signing its race in accordance with God's foreknowledge, from first to last, the truth has framed in words beforehand against the devil that treated us. The sacred scripture foretold the road of those who would rise up against the truth. For example, a refutation of the pathetic, the deluded Severus, the Lord himself somewhere expressly called himself the vine and says, I am the true vine. If the vine's name were at the blameworthy, he would not make a comparison of the name with himself. Moreover, the apostles was well in the work called the Constitution. See, the Catholic Church is God's plantation and vineyard. Again, moreover, in giving the parable of the vineyard in the Gospel, the Lord himself says, a certain man that was an householder having a vineyard let it out to husbandmen and sent seeking fruit, and they would not give it. And again, moreover, a man that was an householder having a vineyard went out seeking laborers for his vineyard, but about the third hour, and the sixth, and the ninth, and the 11th. In conclusion, then, the fraud too, which has been fabricated by this cheat, has been damaged beyond repair by a word of the truth. For even if the darkness appears, when the light is not there, and its disappearance will be caused by a tiny spark of reputation. But I have dealt summarily with this sect since, I, as I have already stated, its cure is easy, and not much effort is required to establish the truth against it. But above all, I am pretty sure that it has no more adherents except a very few in the far north. Now I have cast it all at all at once like a horrid scorpion. Let me move on. Let me move on from this sect and investigate the rest, calling God's power to my aid, that I may speak the truth and escape harm myself, particularly as I shall be touching on such dreadful, painful doctrine malice.